let's have a discussion on the forced posture curve.
Okay.
Okay. Because I feel like are we okay with
D- My AirPods are giving me static period, like for random at random times. They just go staticky. I don't know what it is.
yeah, it's just sign of the times, man. Sign
Maybe
of the
it's
times.
maybe it's that I'm getting close to the shelf life of these things and I have to buy a new pair.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so forced posture curve.
Okay, so before we get into discussion, why don't you just review what it is?
So the forced posture curve, essentially, I learned about it through Louis Simmons. There was a podcast that I did with him. I think Tom was there and someone else was there. But it was essentially just Louis kind of discussing the forced posture curve. Really, that's the first time that I'd kind of ever heard of it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and essentially the way to think about it, I think is easiest is in a deadlift. I believe that's how it's described in the Science and Practice of Strength Training,
I
right?
believe you're right. Hmm.
So what that means is that at a certain posture, you're going to get maximal force output. And then after that posture, the force output is going to go below maximum. Okay. And
Uh-huh.
so we'll kind of use the deadlift to kind of walk through that to kind of understand that. So like when you go to pull a deadlift, right, you're not supposed to just like rip the barbell off the ground, right? One, because your posture, like your like everything biomechanically, it's not an advantageous position anymore, right?
Hmm.
Because your legs shift back, right? You want to be in a posture where like you can like leverage this barbell up to complete the lift,
Sure.
right? And so what essentially happens is that mid shin, like when the barbell is at mid shin, that's when the lifter or the trainee, right, needs to be able to output maximal force. And then what ends up happening is that amount of force enables them to kind of coast through the rest of
The
this,
rest of the lift. Yeah.
the rest of the lift, right? And you can see this. There's an image in regards to accommodating resistance in Science and Practice of Strength Training that shows when they put band tension how much more neurological output you get, right? It's kind of like, like think about like sprinting, like when you're doing like, let's say, 40-yard dashes, right? If you're just trying to win the race, right, you're just going to like sprint as fast as you can until you beat the person and then probably just coast all the way through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, like you can think about it that way, right? We wrote that article on Ellie De La Cruz, and we're like, that's probably what we're seeing. Is
Yep.
is like, is their nervous system stagnating, or is he just like, hey, like I'm already here at the base? Like he's just getting more proficient at utilizing energy to run bases,
Certainly. Certainly.
right? Does that make sense?
Yep. I don't know if
So
you remember back in back oh they're like this is maybe 2016 or 2017 when we were in Ottawa.
yeah, okay, I remember that. Those were the Pizza Hut
And
days.
yeah, that's where we ate Pizza Hut for 3 straight nights
Yeah.
because it was the only restaurant around.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
Uh, uh, Remember you were describing this to me. So we did a little deadlift seminar. Remember that?
Yeah, okay, vaguely.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
you, myself, and gosh, I don't remember who the third person was, but we were in a pretty nice gym facility and you were kind of going through the forced posture, basically what now is the forced posture curve of the deadlift, and you were like, get it to mid shin, that's going to be where you have to exert maximal force, and then basically you're just bringing your hips to the bar.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and so it's funny when you talk to like any elite level lifter, like everybody inherently knows this. They may
Yeah.
not know it's called the forced posture curve,
Mhm.
right? But they inherently know it, right?
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
know that's why you see like the best
Because they can
lifters.
feel it, right?
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I often think about, right, because we have an article that's in the hopper about this, and it's funny, like I often think about like Louis. Like Louis would have felt this before he read about it. And I think you can make that argument, and here's the reason why. Because the science and practice of strength training, which is where he referred to like as the fourth posture curve, didn't come out until the 90s. But he had already selected like specific special exercises that took advantage of the force posture curve, whereby you were going to get maximal force output in the lift that would then carry over. Right. So
Okay.
for instance, like the 3-pin mid shin rack pull,
Yep.
right? That third pin just happens to be right where you should have maximal force output.
Got it.
You with me?
Yep.
Right? But part of the problem with this force posture curve, when we're talking about programming for neurological point B, is we
Hmm.
have to be aware of this. We have to be aware of it for multiple reasons. One, because now we know that neurological stagnation exists. So that means that the nervous system stagnates, and let's say it can stagnate intra rep. So during a repetition,
Mm.
once you get past the force posture curve, because the load doesn't accommodate and the biomechanics become advantageous, the output from the neural network will decrease.
Mm. Hmm.
And that decrease would be considered stagnation. That's not accommodation because that's a
Correct.
neurological behavior, right?
Hmm.
Which this is a real issue in regards to programming for neurological point B,
Okay.
right? Because think about it, like we want more and more output. Like we're using, let's say it's a deadlift, we're using the deadlift, right, to try to actually like generate more output,
Yes.
right?
So we
So
want output through the lift, is what you're saying.
correct,
Yes.
correct,
Not at
because
one particular point in time in the lift.
correct,
Yes.
correct, because we're using the lift to train the neural network to constrain it to be able to essentially output throughout the entire all the different postures.
And correct. And so just to carry on that thought, and you can jump in, we're not, and this is significant because we are not training the athlete to become better at the deadlift.
Correct.
We are, and so this is the shift. We're using the deadlift to train the neural network of the athlete.
Correct. Correct. Which is, you're right. That's a huge thing. Right. And then you can think about it, right? Like that's why. So the interesting part is, so let's get back into accommodating resistance because
Can I
what's
stop you again
interesting,
for 1 second?
yeah, of course.
Sorry, I know you're on it. And so when you think about that intent shift, programming becomes different.
Yeah, 100%. Because technically what you're saying is Louis' programming was to point B was the lift.
Correct. So his neurological programming was for his lifters to beat the deadlift.
Correct. That's why he's
But
so number centric focused.
correct. And this is why the intent matters. But in our case, in our strategy, we're using that lift to allow the athlete to beat the level of competition, to,
Correct.
to have a neural network that can output at their chosen level of competition. And
Exactly.
that's a really big shift because the program